Yo, cold sweats and shit. Big fist, yeah, I'm on the list. Better play my shit.
So the track started kind of like the same way Free Again started. It was during that period where I was just making loads of piano riffs. This time I wanted to make a track without any piano riffs, which turned out very badly, so I had to add a piano riff. So I went through all of my piano riffs and I had this really 90s style piano riff that I made back at the time. And I thought I could make something out of this. I could combine this no piano idea with this 90s piano and make it a piano idea anyways. This track was really difficult for me to produce because I couldn't come up with a melody. Kept coming back to this track, trying to add a melody and try to come up with a melody. And every time I made a melody, it made the track sound kind of slow. I kind of gave up during that process and just put the track aside and thought to myself, if I ever want to take this 90s piano riff, I could just take that out of the track and create a new track out of it. For some reason one day I thought to myself, this track doesn't need a melody. So I decided to go with this like kind of old school but kind of new school kind of drop that needed to be rough in a way. And after making that drop and making the second part of the track, turns out I came up with a pretty good melody anyways. So I was in a struggle. So do I go with the melody drop or do I go with the underground drop? And ended up going with both, having one each, so that the first bit of the track is really dark and the last bit of the track is really melodic. During the time where the track was finished and we planned to release the EP, I was working on a side project with a guy called Mike, a rapper called Mike. And he delivered a brilliant vocal for another track I was working on at the time. The lyrics kind of didn't fit the original track that well. And then when I was going through all of my tracks and I heard Sound Demolished again, which was called ID at the time, the rap would fit this 90s style of production. So I took the vocal out of my original track with Mike and put Mike's vocal into this track, the ID track. And it just worked so well. So I decided to keep it there and just send it off to Boom and send it off to Mike to hear their opinions, and they too felt like it fit better into this track, this 90s style track. I made that track because I have a guilty pleasure for 90s music, 90s dance music. I felt like the piano was kind of similar to the kind of piano you would play in a track made by Aqua. For example, I really love Aqua, that's really a guilty pleasure of mine. So I made a piano riff that I felt like that would fit an Aqua track, but it still had like my way of producing piano riffs in it. That's why it was so difficult to make a drop to fit that track, because my favorite bit was always the piano bit. But I wanted the drop to not include that piano.
I am that bomb shit, sound demolished.